So I'm here with my trusty Apple and, don't throw this, the new Nikon Zf amongst the heather, and I'm hoping, well, it's finished now, you'll see whether I got a good shot and what my thoughts are on this camera. Oh, morning everybody, fantastic to see you all again. So a few things, forgot my hat, not good, but I'm back in the Peak District, which is super exciting, especially at this time of year when the heather is starting to bloom. And I think it's starting to bloom a little bit earlier this year. But the other exciting thing is I've got a new, not quite yet released, but it will be released when you see the video, Nikon Zf. And I just want to have a play with it really. I'm not sure if it's a camera for me or not, but it feels fantastic in the hand. So I'm going to take some shots of the heather all the way through to sunset tonight and see what we can get. Oh, so the reason I've come out fairly early this year is one, well, I've got this new camera to play with, but more importantly, the heather is starting to bloom quite early and I want to get a good heather shot. So a lot of today is going to be about just recceing areas and trying to find a good composition that I can come back to. And then hopefully tonight we're going to go somewhere that will get a good shot. It's interesting actually though, when you come close to the heather, it's when you see that it's not quite in bloom or all of it's not in bloom. And you really need to get a good heather shot. You really need a really strong, bit of foliage that you can have in the foreground. And none of this, I think, works for that. I think it's all too bitty really. Oh, typical England, doesn't know what to do. It's either sunny or cloudy, hot or cold, raining. We had no rain in all June. But anyway, about this camera. So this is the Nikon Zf. It's a full frame, 24 megapixel camera. And on the face of it, you think it's similar to the Z6, but it's got a new processor and it's got retro styling, which I love. And I'm going to talk more about as we walk up and try and find some compositions, because I think it's an important part of photography, what a camera feels like, the ergonomics of it, and also what it looks like. But I'm not sure which way to go here, because that way is where I took sort of this photo that I'll show you now from 2 years ago, and that way is Higator, where I've been a lot, but I want to shoot some foreground and Higator in the background. And I want to explore that way a bit more. So I think I'm going to go in that direction, see what we can find, see if we can find some nice foreground that we can come back to. And also the clouds are quite cool in that direction as well. So I'm going to head in that direction, see what we can find. Okay, so I've come to these rocks here. There's a lot of fern but no heather around it, and I want to try and find something that's a really nice foreground because the background is really good, and then I'm thinking probably around 24-30 mil shot, but I've got to find the foreground. So I don't think there's much heather up there, and I definitely want heather in my shot, so I'm going to walk in that direction. Right, so camera looks fantastic with this 28mm prime lens on it. It's a bit of a pancake lens, I suppose, but I'm going to swap it for my 24-70 because I've seen a little bit of a longer shot over there that I want to take. So I've got a composition here that doesn't really work, and I want to explain why, because I always show you compositions that are good, photos that are good, so it's good to show you ones that don't quite work. Obviously it's the middle of the day, so that's not great from a lighting perspective, but I'm just going to jump into the scene here and you can see a little bit more. Okay, so the idea was that there's a path here going through, and I'd set up here, and I'll show you the photo that I took from here, and I think vertical is going to be good because left and right of it, the horizontal that you can see at the moment, there's not so much over there that's good. I think the most interesting part is the foreground and that end of the mountain up there. And the heather's good on this side, but not so good there. So that's one problem. And then if you walk a little bit further, as you're going through here, you come to this bit of grass, and I feel like this bit of grass sort of blocks your view through the image. And it's really important, I think, in an image like this, where you're trying to lead somebody through the foreground, through to the midground, to the background. There's continuity for the eye to sort of drift through the image, and I just think this bit of grass doesn't quite work. Now, it may be that I can get a better shot up there, or if there was a few bits of grass, like 3 bits of grass, that'd work, but it doesn't in this case. So that's why. Okay, I don't think there's anything here from a foreground perspective that's worth waiting for sunset. So we're going to go to a different location, and we're going to head back through the woodland down there, and I'll try and do some woodland photos. But before I do that, I just want to talk a little bit more about the Nikon Zf. I've had it for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours now. Rishi is with me. He's brought it kindly for me to try it for a few hours. But it feels really nice in the hand, but what separates it from the Z6 is it's got a new processor. So that means the focusing is better, and more importantly, the video for me is better. So it allows me to record 10-bit. So that's nice. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting one of these, but it also has got a flippy screen. So as well as doing 10-bit, 4K 60, I can actually vlog as well and see what I'm doing, which I've not been able to do on many of my other cameras. The Z50, I think it is, Rishi just told me. The Z30, I think it is, actually does this as well. And I have actually got one of those, but being able to have a camera that I can take photos with and video is pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to trying it a little bit more. Hopefully we'll get a sunset. I don't know, it's looking a little bit promising. There's gaps in the cloud. So why would you get a camera that, you know, has this sort of styling, this retro styling? Well, I think I'm a great believer in the ergonomics of a camera being really, really important. I think if a camera encourages you to go out and shoot, feels nice in the hand, looks nice, you're more likely to enjoy your hobby. You're more likely to go out and use it. And the tools that you use should be ergonomically good and visually good, I think. I mean, obviously they've got to serve a function, they've got to have the right features, but these dials, the brass dials, you know, the clicking noises, the shutter, everything about this is such a joy to use. I wish the grip was just a little bit better, you know, a little bit more substantial, but most of the time I'd have this with a camera strap, and walking around on a day like this, it's just absolutely perfect for this camera. But yeah, I think that ergonomically and visually, this is a lovely looking camera. So Nikon have just told me, and this is super exciting, that this has got one of the best IBIS systems that's ever been designed in a Nikon body. And it allows you to shoot handheld down to 8 stops. And I sort of had to see it to believe it, but I've just been shooting this scene here, and I've handheld down to a second. Now I'm not sure the second ones, I'll have to look on Lightroom, are pin sharp, but they're not far off, but the half second ones I'm sure are. So, you know, to be able to do that is good. You know, sometimes you get in really difficult situations where you just want to be able to shoot a long exposure. To be able to handhold it, I think is really good, especially for this camera where you're probably not going to be carrying a tripod, maybe slinging over your shoulder. To have that in the body is pretty good. Right, we're going to go back now, head off somewhere new, and then hopefully we'll get a good sunset.
So I'm looking at 3 photos. The half a second's really sharp. The 1 second is sort of acceptably sharp, and the 2 second isn't sharp, but that's pretty good results for hand holding. And this is a camera that I'm going to hand hold a lot, I suspect, if I got one. Yeah, I'm quite impressed with the results. I'm sure it's better than what I would expect to get from my Z7, but obviously you need to do some more scientific tests than this.
This is where an apple comes in. So I've got to the top of the viewpoint here, and got this amazing lakes in the background. They're actually reservoirs, and unfortunately the clouds haven't played ball, they've all disappeared, which I really wanted some really dark clouds and then maybe a little bit of light coming through, but that hasn't happened. So I'm struggling a little bit, so I'm going to have an apple and then I'm going to continue trying to find a composition. We've got about an hour and a little bit till sunset, so we've got a little bit of time yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a photo with this camera, and I'm also going to take one. I've got my Z7 with me, which is 45 megapixels as well. Now, the reason I want to do that is I just want to print them out and just compare them, you know, because I suspect some people looking to buy this camera will think, oh, 24 megapixels, is that enough? And I want to show you that that is probably enough for the most of the things that you're going to do. So yeah, I'm going to do that. And at the moment, I've just got my 70 to 180 lens on because I'm trying just to pick out some details just to try and help inspire me with my apple. Rishi, who's with me from Nikon, brought the 85 f1.2 lens, so I thought I'd give it a go because you can get some really cool bokeh with it. But at the moment the sun's over there, it needs to move over there because I need to be shooting as directly into the sun as I can so I can get the highlights and get these nice little bokeh balls. But it's quite cool lens, so actually there might be a good shot in that direction. Right, I think I've found a shot that's going to work, and I'm using my 14 to 24mm lens on the Nikon Zf, and I've got this bit of heather here which I think is quite nice. It's in full bloom, which is good, and then I've got the wall which is actually being lit from the back, so it's in shadow on this side, but the top of it looks good, and then there's some grasses, and then there's the lake in the background. It's a shame that there's no cloud, but by moving my camera down and pointing at the foreground, I think it looks really, really good. I've had to focus stack it, so I've focused on the foreground, the wall, and the background scene. That'll be fairly easy to focus stack. And if you're looking to find out how to focus stack, I'll link a video here where I talked about it in more details. But yeah, I think this will work. I think I finally got a shot that's half decent. Like I say, the cloud, I wish I had better cloud, but yeah, I think this is pretty good. So I just took a photo here, just as the sun was going down in this direction. I think it's quite nice with this sort of old stone wall here and the heather, with both my Z7 II and the ZF, because I think it's going to be good to compare the two, see what 24 megapixel full frame and 45 megapixel full frame looks like when printed out. So I'll print some out when I'm back in the studio and we can have a look at them. So what are my thoughts of the Nikon ZF then? Well, I've only had it for, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours. I love how it looks. It looks fantastic. It's great to be able to have, you know, all the functionality of the Z8 bar some of the, you know, high level features of like the 4K 120, but the focus and, you know, that fast processor in here in a body that looks fantastic. I can see myself using it if I just want to sling it over my shoulder, take it on holiday, walk around the street in it. It's probably not going to replace what I use for my landscape photography. Will I get one? I'm not sure. I'll have a think about it. But it's a beautiful looking camera and it's priced similarly to the Z6. So I think if you're getting a Z6, I'd definitely look at this camera because it's almost like an upgraded Z6 really. Well, that was super enjoyable. I always love it when I get my hands on new technology. As a sort of camera geek, I like that. But I can't stress enough just how important it is to say that at the end of the day, cameras don't matter, do they? You know, I shouldn't say this as a Nikon ambassador, but you know, it's about getting out into the fresh air and as landscape photographers just enjoying, you know, what we do. But the one thing I would say with a camera is, you know, the ergonomics of it's got to feel right in your hand. It's the one of the most important things. And that camera did feel really nice in my hand. And like I say, I'm a camera geek. I like new technology. You know, I like anything techie really. But when you look at the prints, there ain't a lot of difference. Spoiler alert. I mean, these prints, I had to keep remembering which print was which. So this is the Z7, so Z7 II, 45 megapixels, and this is the Zf, which was a full frame 24 megapixels. You really can't tell the difference between these prints. I've asked 5 different people and nobody has been able to spot the difference. People have said different ones, but based it on light and which is brightest and things, it's so difficult. This is A2 prints. I wish I could say that's better in a certain place. Now, obviously, if you look at it and zoom in Lightroom, you can tell a difference. You know, there is a slight difference because it's got more megapixels. If anything, the Z7 maybe in the rock area here just looks a little bit sharper. Now, obviously, you can't see that. I mean, I can zoom in a little bit and you can probably see it a little bit better, but it's really difficult to say. I don't do camera reviews. I go out and play with the camera and say a little bit about it. There's going to be way better camera reviews on other channels, which I'm sure you'll see of the Zf, and Rishi will do a good one of it from a technical perspective. There are loads of really good things with it. I think one of the best things with the Zf is probably the Z9 X-Speed 7 engine that it has, because it just offers you all that better autofocusing, which is good. So if you're thinking about it over a Z6, I think that is good. And then some of the video features are really good as well. One thing that really impressed me was the vibration reduction when I was hand holding, that I could do really long exposures with it, which really surprised me, to be honest. And I definitely think that's a significant improvement over the Z6 or the Z7, and maybe even over the Z8. It has a monochrome mode, which I didn't talk about, and pixel shift, which I didn't talk about. I think those, if I'm honest, are probably just marketing things, really. Monochrome mode is more than that. It's not just turning it into monochrome, it's using the pixels in a different way, the RGB pixels in a different way, which I think is quite clever. I didn't get time to play with that. But I think the retro feel of it, you know, slinging it over my shoulder, taking it out, I think that's why I get one. But, you know, like I say, getting out in the field is the most important thing. So I put these images, these edited images, online at the highest resolution. I'll put a link here. I'll write a little blog about it. So go and check that out. And let me know your comments. What do you think about this? Are you going to get one? Do you think it's a good idea having this sort of retro look and feel? And yeah, just any thoughts you've got, put them in the comments below and I'll have a look, and it'd be interesting to get a conversation going. But anyway, thanks for watching this video, another midweek video. There's not going to be any more midweek videos for a while, I don't think. I'm off to Ireland in a few weeks. So, and I think when this comes out, it'll probably be Sunday, actually. I'm off to Ireland on Sunday with Mass and Michael, so that should be fantastic. Thanks ever so much for watching. Until next Sunday, bye.